Hey guys, welcome to Serious Laps. This is episode 33, Pushing Boundaries, Shattering Conventions in an Arena Traditionally Dominated by Men. We're recording. Okay, so what were you doing last night, Anna?
Last night, I was performing, hold on, wait for this, a startup event, a Britney Spears song, okay? And it was like completely insane. This friend of mine who I've been friends for a long time, she's in startups and she does all the stuff. She calls me up and she's like, can you do this song? And me, you know, the usual like, a performance opportunity. Yes, I can do it, with like 100 other things going on and this huge event planned in LA. And I'm like, all right, I can do this. You know what, Britney Spears, I've seen that song, Baby One More Time, right? I was like, I can do this, no problem. I did not realize how talented Britney Spears is until I had to perform the song. I did not realize how hard this song is until I had to learn the song. It's like it goes down, right? Like it has like a high and a low and it goes really fast. And I was like, oh my God. And I can't do pop. I can do like, think of me, you know, like I can do like opera shit, but I can't do this. So anyways, for the next like week, I try it. And I suck. I'm bad, like really bad. Anyways, but I'm a perfectionist, guys. I'm a perfectionist. So I double down, and I learn the song, and I'm pretty good. And at this point, I'm coming in. I know I'm gonna have my lyrics. What I don't anticipate, and she's like, don't worry, Anna. It's just like a small crowd of like startups and investors, and they're all going to be there, and it's going to be really fun. And you're going to do this spoof of the Britney Spears song, and you're going to sing, "Let me pitch you one more time" instead of "Baby hit me one more time," right? So I get there, and it's like, I don't know, like 100 and like 200 people, like so many people, and she's got the mic ready. I'm like, oh my God. So. Anyways, I get so excited and I'm doing pretty well for the first like half of it. And people are like, whoa, go, you know, like when I say like, don't let me pitch you one more time, everybody's like screaming. But because I get super high on myself in the middle of the song, I'm like, you're doing so well. You're like amazing. I totally speed up and the karaoke sound is way behind me. And at some point in the middle of the song, like the song has gotten away from me. So I'm like, hey guys, I fucked up. I wait for 3 seconds and I pick it up again. And they're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great lesson though. I mean, nobody likes somebody, well, no, not nobody, but I just think it's so much more relatable when someone's like, all right, just totally fuck that up. Everyone's going to be like, hell yeah, you did. Let's rock and roll. Let's get back on track. No wonder they cheered you on. Yeah, I love that.
You know, I love that that's your takeaway. Because
I would have been like, go girl. No, because I would have been like, yeah, your name. I don't know. I love that. You just freaking brought attention to it.
It's really funny because my takeaway was like, all right, big lesson here, guys, right?
Oh,
don't. My big lesson was don't praise yourself in the middle of a performance. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't say to yourself you're doing so great. Don't ever say to yourself you're doing so. That was my takeaway. My takeaway was like, keep vigilant, keep criticizing yourself, keep being a perfect straight A student, or you'll fuck up. That's my brain.
I guess. No, I was just going to say the performer in all of us, I would say probably would have those thoughts. But as an audience member, I'm like, yeah, you're not, you know, it's a live performance.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know,
and as a performance member, we all want to root for each other. Mm-hmm. We don't want anyone fucking up. We know what it's like. And so when you honor it and you go, this is me, I think authenticity is alluring. And when you compare that with a parody, you're supposed to be funny. So there's nothing funnier than, you know.
That's true. Sheri, parody. Exactly. That really helped, I think, in my own head. Okay, you're spoofing. You're not being all serious about yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I have to say that I just recently performed on After Dark, which I literally, it wasn't for anything that was happening in my career. It wasn't going to help Galaxy. It wasn't going to help, you know, my Movement 360 project. it just was about me getting up there, like forcing my like stage presence to, and plus I love it. Okay, let's not.
Okay, everybody's listening in and they're like, what is After Dark? What is Anna After Dark? What is Galaxy 360? What are we talking about today?
Okay,
Bring it home.
okay. All right, I'm gonna bring it home. All right, I am I am the director and star of a film called Galaxy 360, A Woman's Playground. It takes place in the future in 2195, where women rule the world and men dream of getting married during a male beauty pageant. And the men wear Speedos and they're hot and we grab their asses and we make them go under the knife and get nipple surgery.
That's amazing.
That's
I watched the trailer the other day and it was hilarious because you had all these hot guys just chilling out, and there was like one dude without a shirt off, and I forget exactly how he said it, but it was like, how do you stay looking so young and buff? And he was just like, well, I drink a lot of water, and that's it. And I was like, yes. It was hilarious.
That's our lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Yes, you're giving voice
mouths, right?
through humor, Anna. You are giving voice to the voiceless, the women, and you're making men wake up.
Yeah, I, you know what? It's such a like. I always feel like when people get it and people understand me, like I feel such a sense of like my heart actually, like I feel like it expanding when I do that. Like when you just said that, I felt like my heart go like, oh, you know, because it's been such a hard road, but at the same time, every single time I get a lot, like I was at this pitch event with all these guys, and for the most part, let me tell you, let me be honest, most of the startups and the I was there as a performer, but most of them are pitching the men. So like out of all of the, you know, the investors in the room, this is when in these rooms, you do really understand that we don't have power. It's not just, oh, look, we've got Kamala, we've got Hillary, you know, they ran for president. Come on, guys, walk into a founders, you know, event where they're pitching, you know, investors who have the money and decide who gets allocated what and what they're going to invest money in. And look at the stats of women. Look at the fact that women always get funded less. Like this is very interesting to me, always been very interesting to me. Men will get funded anywhere between 2 to 10 million right off the bat. And the stats on women is 50,000 to I think like 500,000 that women this like in the off running, right? Like in the start. So men can convince other men to invest millions, and women can convince other men or men to invest thousands.
And that dichotomy, that contrast, that inequality transcends not just fiscally, but emotionally to women. From the time we're little, the Disney movies, the princess being saved, we've come a long way if you look at it from centuries, but we're still used to taking crumbs.
That's right. That's right. That's why, you know, we are where we are. That's why there are laws being passed against us. That's why, because we're not in the rooms. Or if we are in the rooms, we're getting crumbs. And so, like, I invented this world where I had power. And I'll tell you guys, as a performer, as an actress, as a woman coming out of a divorce, you know, feeling completely just devastated because, you know, every time you talk to people and they talk to you, oh, you're a single mom. Oh, you're divorced. Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, that face. I'd be like, dude, I'm so happy. You know, I'm free. I'm independent. I now know what it means to like my own movie. You know what I'm saying? And not check in with the man or make sure that the man's opinion. And I'm not just talking about, you know, ex-husband. I'm talking about ex-boyfriends. I'm talking about reformulating my opinions to make sure that I please the partner I'm with. Right. And that is something I no longer do. Like I get to decide and I get to not ask permission. These are simple basics, but we are taught to nurture and to love and to give, and we're taught to appease. And so I create Galaxy 360, right? From that woman who spent her entire life pleasing everybody, right? My parents, my family, my grandmother, everybody, my society, my world that I grew up in, the American world I grew up in, everybody, the boyfriends, the husbands, whatever. I had only one. But anyway, sounds so good, husbands. Like I just wish I had like 5 marriages under my belt.
Just so you could say.
There are healthy relationships. There are healthy marriages, but they're far and few between because of the distortion that has societally been entrenched in our psyches for millennia.
Exactly. Sometimes I wish that I was more vocal, about, in the relationships or in the marriage where I would say, hey, I really don't like this, or this is not working for me. I wish that that was a mistake that I made, that I could have said things, I could have been more strong, but I wasn't. But all of that came into my film. And so when I start making the film, I say, I'm going to create a character. She's going to have unlimited money. She's going to have unlimited power. She's going to say what she wants when she wants it. She's going to decide, and she's going to be in rooms with men where what they want will matter very little. And what she wants will control the environment. And it was like putting on a new dress. It was like putting on a new shoe. It was like, what is this person that I'm becoming? And I just remember there's this clip of me on Instagram where I say, I have all this power and I have all this money, and why should I commit? There's no point for me to commit. I can have it, and just like saying those words, just like being, and this is why I so love acting, and I love actors, and I love all performers, because we get to do that. We get to play with that. And this radical fucking act changes my life. It's not because I directed the movie. It's not because I ran a ship of like 50 people. It's not because I got to lead. It's not because of any of it. It's because I got to say that on stage. And I got to say it in an environment that I created. In other words, I wasn't cast in it. I wrote it. So I wrote it, I created, and I said it. So I couldn't blame anyone for it, or I couldn't appease anyone during it, or I didn't have anyone to answer to as I said it, right? Which is why, like, this format, our podcast, we get to speak up, but we're not in a role. We're kind of like in a role, but we're not. It's like we get to be who we are, how we write it. And so this act becomes literally the ground from which I then become the person that I am now. And this is why now I'm creating, this is why I've launched a company called Movement 360. This is why I created Ontario World, where women rule over 11 planets. This is why I am now, I just now, right before I got on top, became a C corporation, and Movement 360 is a company that is ready for investors. And I'll be traveling to Zurich in June to speak about my company and my vision, my future vision for women. And like all of that happened because I played Illumina.
You played aluminum. You played aluminum.
Illumina is the character in Galaxy.
Oh, I'm like, wait a second. Is there a Reynolds Wrap product we don't know about?
In like silver. Yeah, it makes sense. I wore silver.
I love that because it's like you had the dream, you had the vision, you put yourself in it, and then it became your reality.
That's
like,
right.
Like that's amazing. It's like that's so cool. I have to ask, what is the Movement 360 vision then when you go to these investors?
Yeah, so my company is this completely radical concept. I want to create a world where women start from zero. In other words, what I understood through this process is that we don't have any templates for leadership. We don't have any templates for how we run our ships. Everything we've done, we've basically parroted men. Men have created the templates, and we have basically been constantly judged and measured. There's been a measuring stick that we've been up against. And everyone continuously says, oh, well, you know what? You're too aggressive. Oh, no, you're too nice. Or you're too fuck that. That's the measuring stick against them. I'm not saying anything against them. It works with their testosterone. That's fine. Doesn't work with my body, with my caring instincts, with my nurturing. Doesn't work with my hormonal cycle. Doesn't work with this biological being. It just doesn't work. So I said, all right, let's start from zero. Let's create new templates for leadership. Let's create new ideas for how women will lead, how women will create, how women will write stories, but throw away like thousands of years of history where we have been oppressed and dominated. And let's start literally with a futuristic world and just envision it. Imagine a world where you've always ruled. What would it look like? I know in my world, there's no war. You know why there's no war? Because we give birth to the whole world. I don't want to see my children die at war. It's just like a basic feeling. Like if I was running a matriarchy, I was like, I'm not going to send my boys to war. Why? Because we have borders. Let's figure out ways to negotiate. So in my world, in Ontario world, I create that utopia because I get to choose, because I get to be a woman in charge.
I love it. And I will say, when I've watched your clips, when I watch your movie, there's a part of me, I'm laughing, I'm cheering you on, and I'm also blushing. And I had to come to terms with, I sat with it, Anna, and I was asking, why am I blushing? Well, I feel uncomfortable. Why do I feel uncomfortable? Well, because the status quo of all the meme viruses that I was raised with through media and family and husbands, I can say husbands, boyfriends, that what you are doing, if I highly recommend people tuning in to check out Anna's work, because it may do what it did for me, which made me uncomfortable, which is a sign that I've been asleep, which is a sign that I've been lulled by the gender stereotypes without even realizing it. And so I encourage people to lean into that discomfort, because that's where the growth happens. So yeah. I commend you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you so much for saying that. I think that when I do this, I'm also super uncomfortable. I don't think you're alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's actually phenomenal that you say that. And I mean, Sheri and I, we have a thing. We've been
we do have a thing. She freaks me out. Can we like at some point, are you okay with talking about your NDE? Is it
which one? Oh, my NDE. Yeah. My death. Yeah. For sure. Okay.
Like, she'll be like, yeah, I knew you were gonna call me. I called you to me. I'm like, wait, what?
I don't even remember how we connected, but the moment we got on the phone, we were like,
yeah,
just like worlds colliding, and just like, but let me just finish this one thought about Movement 360. And I want to say something, a couple of more things that are so important about what I'm trying to do on this platform. You know, I'll say this every time. This happens every time. I say, you know, Ontario World is a matriarchy, but I also have Movement 360 originals. So I have a slate of movies and projects that I would like to launch, which is why I'm raising money. I have a slate of 21 projects, many of which I've already written, many of which are based on novels I've written, you know, because I'm a writer. I'm a writer at heart. I've always been a writer. And some of them, like I have a film I want to work on called Lola Bond, where the woman is the spy, and she's really cool and hot. And I want to create, she's kind of like, you know, this is like the James Bond and everyone is talking about the new female James Bond. But the way I'm going to write my female, I don't care what they're doing, but I know my female James Bond is going to be a real woman. meaning I won't be like trying to shoot guns the way men do. I'll use feminine wiles to be a spy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are so many things we can do other than a gun. You know, like, why do I need to imitate them, right? Why do I need to imitate the male template? So, but one of our log lines is, Movement 360 is the new Netflix for women and the men who love us. And I say that with the utmost authenticity, because we need men to join our movement. We need men not simply to, like, in the privacy of our bedrooms when they've just had their, orgasm, be like, yeah, I support women. This was great. I love that you're a feminist. I'm just a feminist. I love that you're a lovely feminist. You know what? I want you to go on a podcast. I want you to take that statement, that you just said in bed, and I want you to speak it out in public, right? I want these men to start talking out loud, in public, supporting us, supporting our causes, supporting equality, supporting our rights. And I am creating Movement 360 in order to give men the space and the opportunity, not simply to join us, but also to watch us and learn about us and find out who we are, because I find that they just don't know. They just don't know who we are. And they don't know how we work and how we think and how complicated we are. And they're always shocked by us. And they're, oh, what? You were mad about that? And you're like, yeah, because you did this and this and that. And he's like, what? And I feel like one of the things that's happened in our society, I've heard Meryl Streep talk about this. This is not my original thought, but Meryl Streep said, we know who you guys are when we are performing, and when we're looking to you and we're learning from your templates, but you don't know us. Like, you don't know. I'm not phrasing her correctly, but she did this whole speech about how, we've been appeasing and pleasing and learning about you. And we know things about you. We know how to be likable by you. Do you know how to be likable by us? And so, but more even than that, Movement 360 takes up the entire individual. I want to develop fitness programs. I want to develop nutrition. I want it, because we're women, because we're going to come into this environment, and maybe we're going to watch a show about futuristic planets. But as we're watching a show about futuristic planets, we might be eating that ice cream. And maybe we want to have that ice cream that is perfect for us and nutritionally great for us. And you can click right there for that ice cream as you're watching Movement 360. You have the exact ice cream that you want while you're watching my show. I want to have neon ice creams. I want to have futuristic looking ice creams that are good for us. I want to create a world that caters to our every need. We want to work out. We want to watch something that I want to, like, flex my muscle as I'm watching, so that I'm working out, but I'm also watching my favorite show. I want to have a little side thing on the side that says, okay, here's your workout while you watch, Lola Bond, so that you can be like Lola Bond. That's my vision.
Wow. Beautiful. And you just got it approved.
I did. I just got everything. I got the articles of incorporation. I've got everything. And I'm going to Zurich and I'm going to present. And they loved me because I'm so future thinking, because I integrate AI into this platform.
Yes, you do. I've seen it. I mean, it's an amazing world. And okay, so the NDE.
Yes.
Is that where all the ideas came for this new world?
No, I mean, really, I would say it's been like one step at a time, right? Like it's been like one tiny, it's like I like to say, like, I had pointers along the road, crumbs along the path that leads you to your final destination. I don't even know if this is the final. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of destinations.
But you're under your world that you created, Anna. I couldn't keep up with the detail of every character, their names, what they symbolized, what they provided, what they represented. I mean, for me to come up with one character, I'd be like, all right, everybody, I need a good year. I'll be back. I don't know how your mind is on a different plane. That's a compliment.
I was going to say, that's a compliment.
you know, sometimes I feel like I'm faster than Chat GPT. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I'll be with Chat. I was like, you are not keeping up with me. You know, like, I literally will say that to Chat. See, I'm not afraid of AI because I outrun AI at this point. And I do think that we can outrun AI. I just think it's about developing and getting more in touch with ourselves and kind of like expanding our brains and getting our brains to function best. But I know, like Sheri knows this about me. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't, I meditate, I work out, I do yoga. I am a soldier. I am a soldier devoted to this body so that my mind is always at its top performance. And that's a really important, and I believe that for everyone, you know, I stand by that. I think, you know, every time I've had alcohol, people often, you know, say to me, why don't you drink? I have lots of different stories. Like, I was assaulted in 2017 when I had a sip of bourbon. That's one of my favorite stories. I mean, that's real. I don't want to make fun of it. Sometimes I make fun of like assault. I know people get offended, but like I've been assaulted. So like I've had sexual assault and rape and harassment as part of the story of my life. And I won't treat it like
taboo. Yeah, you're giving voice to it. You're like, it was rape.
I want to be able to laugh at it. You know what? It's not my problem. They did it to me. If I want to make a joke about me getting sexually assaulted in Milan by some asshole while I had a sip of bourbon and therefore I don't drink anymore, then it's my right. You know, like I am not here to make sure they're not offended or other people are not. This happened to me. So that's one of my stories.
I love that you said that. Let's timestamp that. If you've ever been sexually raped or assaulted, own the story as an act of experience and an opportunity for growth and empowerment. Do not play the victim. They're the problem. Exactly. You did nothing.
Exactly. And the other thing is, like, my daughter will be like, Mom, you can't make jokes about this. And I was like, why not?
You know why? Because it makes them uncomfortable. It's back to that.
Oh. Totally.
Genius. That's genius.
I never because I'm listening. Yeah. The undercurrent of why our society moves so slowly in growth all comes back to a reluctance of discomfort, of a reluctance to want to experience discomfort. We will do anything and everything to remain in our comfort zones.
That's right.
Yeah, we're also told that we're supposed to be uncomfortable about that topic. But if it doesn't, if you're not uncomfortable with it, you know?
Right. Exactly. I feel like, you know, there's like this taboo about being funny. And there are places you can't go to. And I know Sheri will make jokes about everything. She and we connected because we mocked everything. And we were like, fuck it, you know? And this is something that's happened to me. I was sexually assaulted in Milan in 2017. I like to make jokes about it. One of the reasons he didn't end up raping me, I ended up escaping it. And the reason why is because I didn't drink, and he was drunk as I don't know, as fuck. He was so drunk, and I managed to fight him off with my high heels. I got these gorgeous high heels in Milan, and I never wore them again. But they were super uncomfortable, but they were like sharp heels. And I was just like, you know, my yoga and all of that helped me out. And now, you know, time, obviously I was impacted, but now time has passed, and now it's part of my comedy routine. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it just is. And I refuse, because this happened to me.
Yep.
I own it. I get to make fun of it. You know,
right.
I'm not going to be precious about it.
Right.
And this is part of the journey. The most tragic things in my life I've made fun of. Being an immigrant in America, I've made fun of. You know, like the most difficult things that have ever happened. Being ostracized, being bullied, I've made fun of it. Why can't I make fun of sexual assault? You know what I'm saying? I know it's a bad thing that happened. I consciously understand it, but I also know that it was also kind of funny. You know, like
I love it.
I love it. Like it was kind of funny.
I don't love that you were sexually assaulted. I love that you turn it on its head and give a voice to it as your own. And what you're doing for anyone out there listening, male or female, who's been sexually assaulted, because it can happen to either gender, any gender, you're giving them hope. You're giving them inspiration. You're empowering them to say, maybe I can change the aperture of my own story.
Yeah.
And that's a mitzvah.
Oh,
That's a good deed.
That's so good. That's so good. I love that. I love that.
Okay, wait. I now I have to backtrack. We touched on it, unless you're not comfortable talking about it, Anna. The NDE.
Okay.
Yes. I'm so comfortable. I've talked about it before.
Okay.
Here, and I know that you with Molly and Sheri, it will be a different experience. This has already been like one of my best of all time interviews. I feel so comfortable with you guys. And I'm just hoping as I'm talking that I don't say something that I'll later like no, let's not have that out there.
I should have just stuck to the sexual assault.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a much easier topic than death.
Let's go back to making jokes about really uncomfortable topics. You know,
speak about racism and religious guilt.
Let's go everywhere. All right, so NDE. So I give birth to my son in 2008. He's now 16. And I already have a kid. I already have a 4-year-old daughter at that time. And I know, like I've told Sheri the story, like I got married really young. I met my ex in college. I had my kids fairly young. And then here I am kind of like thinking I know who I am in 2008 when I am in the process of giving birth. I'm a writer. I am.
Wait. We're a big plug about your writing, Anna. She's not just a writer. Can you tell everyone what you've done with your writing? That's big.
Yes, I have it was a long, and this is part of the NDE story, essentially.
Oh, okay.
But it's important. I have a book called The Matrimonial Flirtations of Emma Caulfield that's currently being published by Simon & Schuster that came out in 2017 and got onto all the national Barnes & Noble's stores and was at the front of the house in most of those stores and got pretty awesome reviews. That book and that accomplishment took about 10 years of rejections, I should start with. And I fought very hard against any version of self-publishing. So I wanted to have an agent. I wanted to have, I wanted to do it the right way. And that novel and that story, how it finally got birth. So before it even got to Barnes and Nobles, it had to be read by through every single step that I described, the agent, the editor, the publishing house taking it, and then finally getting to Barnes and Nobles. So not everybody who gets an agent and not everybody who gets published gets to be in Barnes and Nobles, and not everybody gets to get the front of the house. And so that was like one of my bigger accomplishments with that book. And the book is complicated, and so it's not like, it's
not a beach read.
It's not a beach read, and it was kind of marketed. It was another one of these, I believe, unfortunately, biased marketing techniques that happened where it was marketed to women as a romance novel. And while it has romance in it, I was told in those years, and one of the reasons that I was constantly rejected was because I was told it's too difficult. It reads like literary fiction, but yet it has a romance. And because it has a romance, it will fall into chick lit. And people will think of it as a summer read. And so it's marketed as a summer read when in fact it should have been marketed as serious literary fiction. And years later, somebody wrote a review that came out like 2 years ago that said this book is an incredible book. It should have been marketed as literary fiction. It's really complicated and just had the wrong marketing. And I was like thanking that reviewer. I was like, thank you for seeing that, because I think that that's true about the book. The book is meant to be complicated, and I could, and not so complicated, but the language is very convoluted on purpose. I work really hard at making convoluted. I use very big words in it that you have to then look up in a dictionary. I refused to make the book simpler, no matter who pressured me, because it was really important for me to get it out right. at that time. That was my dream. At the same time as, and let me go back to the NDE. So this is all happening. So when this is happening, I consider myself an author. And the only thing I dream about at this time is getting this book published. And when I go into labor, I am probably at 50 rejections from literary agents. So I feel like a loser. I feel like I'm a genius, but no one knows. A genius stuck in a prison of her own stubborn making, and no one knows about me, and no one knows about this amazing book that I've got in my body, and I'm being rejected all the time. And I'm going into labor. And now I'm going to have to take care of a child and all that. But by that point, I've already written the book. I've already finished the book. The book is already out. It's already getting rejected. So in 2008, when I'm in labor, this is what I'm thinking, right? And then labor happens. And I want to have a natural vaginal birth because I had a C-section before. But it turns out I was too narrow. And anyways, the point is, they go into an emergency C-section, and and I was a fairly small person, and I get an overdose of anesthesia because they give the same anesthesia to every single patient. I was saying, I'm too small, giving me too much. Anyways, they give it to me. And this is just the epidural. This is not, I have to go into an emergency C-section because they think that the baby's head is stuck in a cord and they're very scared. And so now we're in an emergency situation. I am basically feeling like an elephant is squeezing my heart. And I know that I'm dying. I'm aware that I'm dying. And I basically turned to my ex-husband. I said, please take care of our children. And I said, I'm going to die right now. So bye. With my usual sense of humor. But, and then suddenly after I say this, he's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. And then seconds later, the room, the doctors, the nurses, everyone goes into like a tailspin, and they say, get him out of the room. And I guess what happens later is I die, and my pulse drops below 30, and they can't resuscitate me. And I don't know, like, essentially what happens in the room next. But I remember the chaos, and I remember checking out, right? And then waking up to my son, and then waking up to doctors coming up to me saying, we're just glad you're alive. And, you died for a little bit. So I don't know how long I died for. But basically in that moment, I remember not being afraid of the death at all. I remember just peacefully saying, okay, this was a good run. I'm going to go now. I just remember those thoughts, like not being afraid or anything, just kind of like, but when I wake up and I hold my son in my arms and I look at him, and he's beautiful. He's this beautiful little creature. He has like snowflakes on his face. And I look at him and I say, kiddo, it's time mommy got on stage. And then I said, if not now, then never. Why I have this thought, guys? I mean, sure, I was a child actress in Russia. Sure, I loved the stage. But you understand what I'm saying? Before this moment, I was a writer. I thought of myself as a writer. I completely repressed any desire to be on stage. I completely thought this isn't going to be my life. I'm not going to be an actress. To wake up and to think that this is now going to be my goal in my future. And sure enough, within 5 months of giving birth to my son, while I'm getting rejected for the matrimonial flirtations of Emma Caulfield on a daily basis, I say to myself, you know what, Fishbeyn? Americans, they don't need your complicated thinking process. They want something dumb. Fun, escapism. You're smart enough to write this book. You are smart enough to write dumb shit. Okay. So the first project that I come up with is called Conversations with My Breasts. And it's basically
Conversations with your breasts. Oh, sorry. Wrong pronoun. My breasts.
My breasts.
Oh my God. Tell me about this.
And so I write this little essay, and it's basically, I can't even, it's like a download, right? Like you guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just coming, like as soon as I have these thoughts, it suddenly comes like, oh, remember how like, you know, and then I remember one breast, he was taking one breast and he wasn't taking the other breast, and one breast got really big and then the other one was really small. And so then I would like walk around with like lopsided breasts, and I always considered myself a pretty hot person, but like then suddenly it was like weird, right? And I'll never forget, like I was at a beach and I'm swimming with this guy in South Carolina, and my husband is holding the kid, so I look like I'm single, and from one side it looks like I have a really big boob, and then and this guy's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, I'm Bill. I'm like, I'm married with children. And then I turn around. There's like one flat boob and one big boob. And
oh my God.
I was like, bye. You know? But I write about that. And then I write about a whole other stuff. And then the next essay in this collection is called Sex in Mommyville. And it's all about how I couldn't have sex after I have children, right? When there's no time and the kids are interrupting, my parents are interrupting, everyone is interrupting the sex, the career is interrupting the sex, whatever, right? So I call up this little cafe in New York City called Cornelia Street Cafe. And I say, hi, and I'm like really insecure, and I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like this is really like, I don't know theater. Hi. This is, I'm calling to see if you guys maybe have like a spot. Okay. Wait, before I do this. As a writer, our biggest win was Cornelia Street Cafe. It was a little underground bar where poets and musicians and writers would perform their work before it became public. You know, people read from their books. It was it closed during COVID, but it was an incredible place. It's like it was the creme de la creme of underground bars. Okay. And everybody at my school, at New School, where I got my MFA from, wanted to perform at Cornelia Street Cafe. And I thought, okay, funny titles, why not? I'll just read them as essays. So okay, back to my acting. So I come, hi, this is Anna Fishbeyn, and I was wondering if you guys have 10 minutes on your stage. I have an essay called Conversations with My Breasts and another one called Sex in Mommyville. And he goes, what? With titles like these, you could have your own solo show. I'm like, what?
It's true.
Oh my God, it is true though.
And this begins a new life. Like this becomes the new, and then of course I do conversations. It's called Conversations with My Breasts. I still remember to this day. I think it was January, God, do I remember this? January 9th, 2010, I want to say. And I perform this piece. It's packed with moms from my preschool. And then like old men come and they're like laughing and everyone is laughing. And this woman comes up to me afterwards and she goes, you're a star. I was like, what? She goes, you're an actress. You should be an actor. You're a star. And I was like, no, I'm an intellectual.
You were self-pigeonholing. And I believe something happened with your NDE that you don't remember.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah. What happened where you woke up and you're like, cute baby, going to be on stage. You know what I mean? Like what, you don't remember, and that's great, but like what a gift, a scary gift, but what a gift. And like, what happened? What happened? You came back and it was just like lights on, baby, let's go. And to have that happen 5 months later where you're performing.
Yeah, like wait, how does that happen? Like how does, right? Like
something happened that you don't remember.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Rose, tell me what happened.
Well, you died, girl, more than one time. You told me.
I did, yeah. And each one made a difference in my life. Yeah.
How many? It was three. Wasn't it three?
Yeah, 3 times. I've died 3 times. 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
And when did you develop the power?
I was 19. Guys, hold on 1 second. Literally 1 second. You're gonna see my butt or whatever. Because I have to plug this in. Hold on.
We are seeing Anna Fishbeyn's butt.
I know.
But if that's too sensitive,
is she wearing sequins? Oh my God. Does she have a sequence
She's like
dress
a
on?
walking performer.
Yes, I am.
And
That's
she's
incredible.
a gorgeous back. Look at that back.
Okay, hold on, guys. I think it's in.
It's in hollandaise? The sauce?
What?
Hallelujah.
That's what he said. I think it's in.
It's in. Yeah, guys, what do you think?
It's gorgeous.
This little dress.
Flapper-esque.
I know.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And
I can't believe you never thought of yourself as a performer. That's hysterical.
can you believe that?
Hello. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm
like,
doing a podcast, Mom. Can I call you later?
Sheri.
Hello? Hello?
I love that you're doing your makeup on this. I should.
Oh,
why not?
I'm sorry, Xfinity. I'm in the middle of recording a podcast. Can I call you back?
Oh my God, she answered the phone.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day, sir.
I love that.
I'm really glad you don't talk like that all the time. I'm going to be honest.
What did I say? How did I change?
Oh my God, have a great day, sir.
Have a great day.
Because I thought it was my mother first. She's always miserable. She's always miserable. I'm like, how are you, Mom? Oh, don't get me started. Anyway,
Guys, you should come to LA for June.
you're in
14th.
New York.
I'm going to be in LA.
Oh.
You should come to LA and be part of our judging panel for judging male beauty pageants.
Oh my
You guys
God.
look so good. And you're 5'11". Like, we give you feels.
You know what?
We're over them.
I would, but I feel stupid now. I'm not 5'11". I'm 5'10". Close enough. I looked at that and I was like, you fucking idiot. I hope nobody notices. And then you pointed it out.
I noticed it. I was like, damn.
I'm very, very tall. And I realize it when I see pictures of me standing next to people. I'm like, oh, it's just like normal to me. And then you must be very petite because you said that,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
the anesthesia.
I'm like 5'4", but I feel,
Yeah.
but I sometimes feel very petite, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like I have to walk with my arms out to take space. Like I walk like this sometimes, and like at night I'll walk.
You're both gorgeous and different.
That's amazing.
And that's good.
That's right. That is good.
That's right. I share. You are also gorgeous. We're all gorgeous.
We are
gorgeous.
In the new futuristic female world, gorgeous will be defined differently. Do you know what I mean? Like I just really feel like even gorgeous, even when we say it, you know, and I know that a lot of us, like I will say it to women, like I think my mom is gorgeous. You know, I think she's young and beautiful and all that. And I don't say it like she'll often, she's like, do you not see my wrinkles? And I'm like, no, like actually I don't. I just see your soul and it's super young. It's a really young soul and whatever. And I think in a futuristic world, we'll be able to see past the skin. We'll be able to see each other's souls. We'll be able to see someone on the street and just know goodness because it will emanate as an energy, as opposed to what we've got right now, which is like so stuck in kind of like these antiquated environments of what you see on the surface is the only thing you can judge people by.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the contrast is getting bigger?
Yes.
Because I feel that tension.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, tell us your gifts as an NDEer.
My what? My gifts?
Your gifts.
Like what it gave
What
to me?
you walked away with. Yeah.
Well, one thing you walk away from when you have an NDE is fearlessness goes away. You become fearless. I mean, I became and progressively become. I came from a world where fear helped you to survive. I came from a world where if you didn't have fear in your bones and your body, you could get in trouble. You could go to jail. I came from, let me backtrack. I am an immigrant from Russia, and my family fled from the former Soviet Union. We got political asylum in America in the late 80s, and we were refugees. And that meant escaping Russia. And it was no small feat for a child to have experienced that. I also was abused as a child for being Jewish. There was a lot of anti-Semitism when I was growing up. And my the nurse in our kindergarten abused me for almost a year. So I learned what fear means, and I learned what it means to, how to survive with fear. And I think that I had a lot of fear coming into adolescence, and a lot of fear coming into my marriage, and a lot of fear coming into my, every single part of my life. Like fear was when, oh, let's not step in, let's not. But I also had this like fire in my belly, right? I also had this like very confident persona that was there from like the time that, as far as I can remember, the time that I was 5, when I was also performing on stage in Russia. So I always had like both of those qualities. And when I experience death, I understand that whatever happens, whatever is done to you, it's like a transition. It's not something to fear. Once you no longer fear it, you can do whatever. Because even I remember the first thought that I had when I thought about performing, I was like, and so what? You'll humiliate yourself. So what? You'll suck. So what? You'll forget a line. So what? Because then the other side of it is death, right? And that's not that bad either, because then you get to maybe come back and live a different kind of life, right? Like it was like it gave me a fluidity in an existence that is very interesting. And so I said, there's no time to wait. And so when I walked away from that NDE, I think that that's what I was like, okay, how are you going to get up on that stage? Well, Cornelia Street Cafe was going to be, and here's the incredible thing about acting and performing in the stage. So as my novel, as my definition of myself as a writer and intellectual is getting rejected day in and day out, this part of my life is getting accepted day in and day out. So my ex at the time does a video of me performing Conversations with My Breasts. I then send that video to a bunch of theaters in New York, and so many of them suddenly say yeah. And they give me a stage and they say, you can have your own solo show. And the next thing that I know is that I'm performing at one of the most prestigious off-Broadway theaters in New York called the Flea Theater. And I'm doing a play called Sex in Mommyville. And I've got 12 feature stories written about me. And I'm thinking, what? And then what? Right? And so like the gates won't open on this side, but they're opening on this side. And I lean into that, and people often would ask me like, did you take any acting classes? And I said, I didn't. I took acting classes after I got up on stage, after I had my reviews, after a reviewer said, Fishbeyn has a lot of charisma, but she talks like she's a professor on stage teaching us a lesson. And I will never forget that, because I didn't take it like a destruction of me. I didn't take it like, I didn't take it personally. I was like, you know what? He's probably right, because I haven't had any education in this regard. And I do lecture like a professor, because I was a professor before that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes perfect sense. And he's right on. And that review was very useful. And then I went to acting classes at HB Studios and so on and so forth. So the NDE like really taught me also to be more fluid and more flexible with my own self definitions.
You're so inspiring. I feel like we have to timestamp everything, Molly.
I know. It's all over my paper. Lots of different beautiful things. I love that happened for you. I'm sad that, like, for so many of us, it takes that, like, so if anything, I would just love to take that lesson from you and just have that sense of urgency and that,
fluidity.
Get rid of the fear. Yeah. Get rid of the fear, the fluidity. And just like, I know Sheri would love to do stand-up comedy, and it's, I know it's scary, and
it's really
just
scary.
Get rid of it and just do it.
Yeah. Get rid of it. Just do it. I'll tell you something. I did Anna, After Dark recently, and I made jokes and like, some really funny jokes. And before coming in, I had like 2 other actors with me who were like the guys. They were playing the guys because I wanted some guys. Like I wanted to do, it was mostly my show, but then I had little bits about Tinder dating. So I brought in like 2 male actors to like play the Tinder dates. And some of the jokes were really funny and no one fucking laughed. And, I've been there. And we would laugh, actors rehearsing it. But this one night, no one laughed. Other nights, people laughed. It's really like, and it's hard. And then afterwards, on the night that no one laughed, or I thought no one laughed, people came up to me and said, that was really funny. I was laughing. I was like, I did you. So like, one of the takeaways for performers, and for Sheri especially, for both of you, if you guys want to do any stand-up comedy, any performing, especially live, right? Especially live. This is my great big, like, Anna lesson, because I've been there, right? I've humiliated, I've been on stage. I was doing a show, so I always call them with my name. I had a show called Anna on Fire, and then I did Anna After Dark, because why not? And because I'm super confident. And so Anna on Fire was my first kind of like stand-up show. And it was all about sex. And I went to a place that was super uncomfortable, grew up a virgin, as most of us do. But what I mean by that is I was a virgin for a very long time. Like,
wait, you grew up as a virgin? I didn't get that on my template. I need to call the store. Wait a second. If you're listening and you grew up as a virgin, we have a hotline.
Yeah.
Growing up as a virgin. I grew up as a virgin, meaning like everything was all about retaining my virginity. You know, my grandmother was like, you can't kiss anyone. You can't wear red lipstick. You can't wear a mini skirt. You have to stay a virgin, and you got to marry before you have sex. It's like I would force every guy to like commit to marriage before I had sex with them. One guy was like, I can't marry you right now, but we can have a fake ceremony. I'll do.
And your grandmother meant well. She was living by the template. That's all she was doing. Her heart was in the right place.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. But so I'm doing this show, right? It's my first show, and it's all about sex, and it's all about how. And then the show was really leading up to how do you then get divorced and have casual sex? Because I really wanted to experience. I never had casual sex. I was like, my first boyfriend at like 19, I was engaged to. He was a fiance, and then the second one was my husband. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, okay, what's going on out there? You know? And I wanted to do a show about a woman who's never had casual sex and is now divorced and can have it. And I talk about all of the failures of that, you know, enterprise, of like how I cry and I can't go through with it, and how everything is wrong every time. And then I finally have casual sex. And then the incredibly difficult process of saying, okay, you just had casual sex. You will never see him again, and you don't need to marry him. Right? Like that moment was so amazing. So I wanted to talk about it. It was all about sex. And I have some like very sexual moments, like where I talk about masturbation and all that kind of stuff in the show. And first 2 nights, I have a pretty wild audience, and they love me, and they're laughing, and they're like, yeah, go Anna. And they're like all with me. And then the last audience is all like old geriatric people. I mean, not everybody is geriatric, but everyone is fairly old. And I love old people, but they don't laugh loud enough. You know what I'm saying? And so
they have to retain their lung capacity.
Exactly. And I loved having, there were so many people there were so many women, like I did yoga with them. It was a much older crowd. But the point is, when I'm making a dick joke and no one's laughing, or I can't hear their laughter, it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing a full-on 15-minute masturbation scene and you're going, and no one's laughing, you're like sweating on stage. You're sweating. You're like, okay, I'm not funny, and I'm talking about sex, and now all of these older people think you're a whore. Okay, so like, you know, get a grip, Fishbeyn. And so the whole time that I'm up there, I'm like, all right, get off the stage. Just like save yourself. This is midway. Like the show was like an hour and, you know, I don't know, an hour and like 20 minutes. And maybe at like minute 35, when I'm mid masturbation scene, I'm like, get off the stage. You can't get through this. Sweating bullets, like sweating. And inside my stomach is turning. And in my head, the only words that are happening through the head are, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. You suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. I'm saying this to myself the whole time. Anyways, very, very fortunately, I get through the show. And these older people who came to the show, some of them strangers, come up to me at the end and they go, "You were hilarious! You were so funny!" And I learned. And yeah, and let me not pretend like I made everyone there laugh. There were people put off by it. There were 3 critics that night that massacred my show. Okay, they were like, "Oh, she's not even that funny," because no one could hear them laughing, you know. And then you realize it's so subjective. It's so it's so auditory. It's so interactive. It's so, and then you judge yourself. And the minute you say to yourself, "You suck," you're gonna suck, because suddenly instead of this, you're going to be this, and you're going to drop your posture, you're going to drop your body, and suddenly you're no longer performing, but you're getting through it.
Yep.
And so when I do Anna After Dark recently, and I'm already making Movement 360, and I'm already thinking differently. I already have Galaxy. I'm like, fuck this. No one laughs. I'm going to give it even more. No one responds. I'm going to give it even more. You know, like I was like, I'm going to take this all the way as far as I can take it. And you know what? My kids are in the audience, and they come back to me and they go, "Mom, you were incredible," even when no one was laughing.
Aww.
And I was like, if I did it just for them, that's how I did.
Well, I think what you said something. You're like, I have 360. Fuck it. Like you have like this secret little nugget like in your pocket. You know that you've just got so much power with something else that's super successful. So why not just go for it? And then to take it back to where you're like, I suck. Yeah. Then you're taking yourself out of the gift that you're giving to the people. But that's such a great lesson. I mean, we've all been there doing live theater. You're like, "Oh, this sucks." Or I even teach cycle classes sometimes, and I'm like in the middle of the class, and I'm just trying to motivate. And I've got like something in my head I want to pass on to somebody, and it just does not come out right. And I'm like, well, and I'll just fucking just say it. I'm just like, well, that didn't go how I planned. Like I just
people love that.
Yes,
love
you're just human.
Yeah.
And it's the surrendering. That's what makes humor. That's what makes insight. That's what makes you authentic. It's the surrendering. You're not pushing against. You're not trying to force a current. You're allowing the current.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good. And Sheri, you got to do stand up. This lady, this woman is one of the funniest people I know. And when my slate is approved, she's going to be in one of my movies. And we've already talked about this. She knows this. We've talked about
I can hear it again.
No. And every time I see you, every time I look, I mean, like every character she's ever done, every impression, like she was writing a piece about me. And then we got on the phone and I said, "Why aren't you acting?" Like, I was like, "Why are you writing?" I just remember like thinking that and I said it, and she's like, "Well, actually,"
there's so much
when
I think that's why Anna and I connected so much. I was like, yes, writing, acting, trying to please people, growing up in a Jewish ostracized world. There's just it was like coming home talking to you.
Yeah. And it's honestly, it's a gift. And when you have it, and this is the other thing I want to say, it's never too late to start. Whatever you're thinking, Sheri, and I know that a lot of us think it, throw that away. Like really throw it. I was told by so many people, "You're a mom. You didn't do this when you were 20. How are you going to get up on stage?" You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to do this? It's like, and then like, the movie was taking too long to get out there. And I was doing effects and I was animating. Like, and people were like, "You're taking too long. You're losing time. Your age." I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I look better now than I did 10 years ago. I don't, and I look better now because I feel better now and I'm more confident now. That's why I look better now, because 10 years ago, I was insecure and questioning myself every single moment of the day. And if I can get on stage now, I will be serving my audience, as opposed to then when I was so scared to serve my audience, even though I wanted to serve my audience. You know what I mean? And it's not about, who cares?
Yeah.
No one cares what everybody, like I said, let's go from zero. Let's reinvent
I love it. I love it.
And look at us guys. Look at me and Sheri. It's taken us this long to figure out we love the stage. We love performing, right?
Well, I always knew. I just didn't have the balls.
Agreed. Right. Right. So but what does that mean? It's taken us this long to awaken and come to terms with past programming and to be able, so in order to have those balls, we need to grow, and that takes time. And if that takes you to now, then do it now.
I love it. And the next time I'm in New York, I'm going to let you know. I just came back from New York.
Let's do open mic. You just came back from New York and you didn't see me? What?
I couldn't because I would see. Oh my God, Anna, it wasn't personal. I got together with my drama teacher from high school. We spent the day in Manhattan together with my son. That was his 18th birthday present, and I was with my sister.
That's nice. No, I'm not offended at all. I'm not offended.
I know you're not. I know. I'll make another trip though, and I will see you.
But we have to plan it like this podcast. We have to plan it way in advance.
Yes,
because it right now, like I have every week planned out.
Can you promote what you're doing now? Let's plug you.
Yeah, tell us where we can find you and all that good stuff.
Yes, let's plug in. You can find me on Anna Fishbeyn Instagram, Anna Fishbeyn World on TikTok, Galaxy 360 Movie on Instagram, all of that on Facebook. So I'm Anna Fishbeyn Official on Facebook. I have a fan page, official page. It's my biggest follower page. And then I have a Galaxy 360 Movie page. I have a Movement 360 page on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And on LinkedIn, I'm Anna Fishbeyn. And on Twitter, I'm Anna Fishbeyn. I can't remember if I'm forgetting, but those are Instagram and Facebook, I'm pretty active on all three platforms. So the movie, the platform, and Anna. And we post almost daily. We constantly announce things. But the most important thing I want to say right now, guys, is on June 14th and June 15th, we are screening Galaxy 360 in Los Angeles. All right. Ooh. And this really cool, iconic theater called Gardena Cinema. It has 800 seats. All right. How cool is that? Hopefully it'll get filled. But this is why we're here. We're announcing it, and we're trying to get you guys all to come and see it. But even cooler, because I'm creating event-based cinema through Movement 360, we've got a male beauty pageant called He's Got the Look. And it's the first male beauty pageant on Earth. What does that mean? Live men are going to be on stage, parading in their bathing suits, and I'll be asking them questions, very pointed questions about their daddy goals.
I love this. And wow, that there's never been a male beauty pageant.
I never even thought of that. There hasn't.
There hasn't. There really hasn't. I mean,
I love you.
There's I think I've looked, and there's some in Thailand, but it's not going to be like my male beauty pageant. You know what I'm saying? With futuristic queens judging them, and with pointed questions about fatherhood. Essentially, it's Father's Day weekend, and I want to know what they're going to be like as dads, what their goals are as dads, how nurturing they'll be as dads, how do they feel about diapers and formula and the environment. And, I want to ask them questions about, how many diapers have you changed yesterday? And were you multitasking as you were preparing your buff body and also your children, and were you doing all that? And what does that mean for you? And really place them into our nurturing selves, let them experience our lives.
Yeah. Are you going to balance a career? Are you going to give up your career and become a stay-at-home dad?
Yes, exactly. And maybe for those guys who don't have kids yet, we can say, why aren't you planning for kids? What are you doing? You're already 40. Where are the plans in place? Where is that girlfriend? Are you just playing the field and you're not contributing to society by taking care of children? What's up with that? And look at that, how simple that is, and yet how radical. Don't you feel like I'm shockingly radical, and yet it should be a no-brainer?
Yep. And I'm feeling the discomfort, but I'm excited at the same time.
Me too. The discomfort. Me too.
You're not getting any younger.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
It's like I took, when I became Illumina, which is the main character in Galaxy 360, I asked myself the question, what does equality really look like? Do you know what I mean? Like, what does it really feel like, look like? Why are we having these ridiculous conversations that are stuck in past paradigms where we're fighting each other on things that are still coming from past paradigms? So like, oh, should a woman work, or should she just have children, or should she do both? No. Equality looks like we're both two evolved human beings taking care of a newborn, and the responsibility falls on both of us in equal measure. And if I'm working and you're working, then we're both caring as well, so that we can all split that time, split those minutes. And not only that, think of all the minutes that we spend making our hair or making our faces. Let's get them to spend their minutes buffing their bodies and their hair and their faces. Let's get them to be part of the whole, like, we need to look good for our women routine. Some of them are doing it. I'm not saying they're not, but it's very difficult to balance it all.
Wow. I'm just speechless. There's so much to unpack here. We need to have you on again. We need to have you on again.
Well, I want to have you on after the male beauty pageant and find out how that turned out.
Okay, that's a deal. That's a deal, and that's a date. I want a date with you two where we're drinking non-alcoholic drinks.
Kombucha.
They're really good for us.
I love that. With our, what you said, good for us ice cream too?
They're like good for us ice cream, where we have like a luxurious date together. And we're doing the things we love, and we're talking about, and we can even describe what's in our ice creams or in our drinks.
Okay. I like that.
Done.
I love that.
You're amazing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you guys. Wait, I want to make sure everybody knows Gardena Cinema, Los Angeles, June 14th, June 15th. Go to Eventbrite, get those tickets, and come see us rock it out. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, guys, that's a wrap. Remember, when everything's going wrong, it just means you're crafting a great story. Stay tuned for more episodes where we turn life's lemons into laughable tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep finding the best in the worst, because life's too ridiculous not to laugh at it.